Ladies and gentlemen, narcissists present themselves in ways that can be deeply compelling. They often seem charismatic, confident, and even vulnerable in just the right doses. But beneath this carefully constructed surface lies something far more complex and far more dangerous. To understand why someone might find themselves repeatedly hurt in a relationship with a narcissist, and why leaving feels so difficult, one must first understand the psychological machinery driving narcissistic behavior. At the core of narcissism is not a surplus of self-love, as is commonly believed, but a profound and often unconscious self-loathing. This self-loathing is buried beneath layers of psychological defense mechanisms designed to protect the narcissist from feeling the shame and inadequacy they deeply fear. To the outside world, they may appear self-assured and dominant, but this is a performance, a strategic posture meant to draw admiration, control others, and shield them from confronting their inner void. The narcissist's entire emotional economy is dependent on external validation. They require others to reflect back a version of themselves that supports their self-image. In psychological terms, this is known as narcissistic supply. It could be praise, attention, obedience, or even fear, anything that reinforces their sense of importance and superiority. But because this need is unquenchable and fundamentally rooted in an unstable sense of self, no amount of external reinforcement is ever truly enough. The narcissist becomes addicted to this supply and structures their relationships around obtaining it. This is why narcissists often idealize their partners at the beginning of a relationship. They are searching for someone who can mirror back to them the image they want to believe about themselves, someone who is captivated by them, impressed by them, or even dependent on them. But the moment that partner begins to show independence, critical thinking, or emotional needs of their own, the narcissist's behavior begins to shift. What was once praise becomes criticism. What was once attention becomes withdrawal or aggression. This shift often confuses the partner, who finds themselves trying harder to return to the early ideal phase of the relationship. In truth, that phase was never real. It was a projection, a carefully curated illusion designed to ensnare. What's critical to grasp here is that the narcissist does not seek partnership in the authentic sense. They do not enter relationships to build mutual trust, to share burdens, or to grow together. Their interest lies in domination masked as intimacy. They are not simply unaware of the pain they cause. In many cases, they are aware and rationalize it as necessary to maintain their position. Empathy is weaponized, used selectively to manipulate rather than connect. Vulnerability, when shown, is often a tactic to reset the narrative and regain control. Understanding this changes the emotional calculus. When someone is caught in a relationship with a narcissist, they may feel an intense pull to stay because they believe they see the real person underneath. But the version of the narcissist that appears vulnerable or remorseful is often just another mask, one designed to keep the supply flowing. The contradiction is deliberate. Confusion is a tool. The instability makes the partner question their own perceptions, fostering a deep sense of self-doubt. This is not just emotional manipulation. It's a systematic dismantling of the partner's ability to trust their own judgment. Over time, this erodes the partner's sense of self. They become conditioned to seek approval, to suppress their own needs, and to fear the emotional volatility of the narcissist. The longer this dynamic persists, the harder it becomes to recognize the extent of the damage being done. This is not love. It is psychological captivity, maintained through illusion, guilt, and intermittent reinforcement. If one could truly understand the thought processes of the narcissist, the cold calculus, the strategic cruelty, the hollow need beneath the charm, one would no longer feel conflicted about leaving. The question wouldn't be, should I stay and help them? It would be, why did I ever believe this was love? Because love in its genuine form is founded on mutual regard, emotional responsibility, and honesty, none of these are compatible with the inner workings of narcissistic pathology. To understand the narcissist is not just to see through them. It is to reclaim the ground on which you stand. It is to begin the work of re-establishing your own dignity, perception, and worth, independent of their manipulation. And that understanding, though painful, is the beginning of freedom. Remaining in a relationship with a narcissist is not merely a mistake or a matter of poor judgment. It often reveals a deeper psychological pattern involving fear, avoidance, and an unwillingness to confront the difficult realities of life. The question is not simply why someone stays, but rather what staying represents. On a deeper level, choosing to remain entangled with a narcissist can be an attempt to escape personal responsibility and the chaos of independence. This is not a moral failing, but a psychological truth that must be understood if genuine change is to occur. Human beings are drawn to order. We crave stability and predictability even when those come at a high emotional cost. The narcissist provides a kind of structure, or be it a destructive one, that allows the partner to avoid the terrifying responsibility of choosing a path for themselves. In this dynamic, the narcissist becomes the dominant force dictating terms, controlling the emotional climate, and determining the shape of the relationship. For the partner, this can create a false sense of safety. The roles are defined even if those roles are toxic. There's no need to make hard choices, no need to risk failure, no need to face the uncertain terrain of personal freedom. This is not a conscious decision most of the time. It's an adaptive strategy rooted in fear. Fear of being alone, fear of making mistakes, fear of facing the truth about one's life. The chaos of solitude, the anxiety of self-direction can feel overwhelming, especially for individuals who have not yet developed a strong internal compass. In this context, even a harmful relationship can feel preferable to the disorienting experience of standing on one's own. The narcissist exploits this fear expertly. They intuitively understand that their partner may be afraid to leave not because of love, but because of self-doubt. They amplify this insecurity through subtle and not so subtle messaging. You'll never find anyone else. You're too sensitive. You can't survive without me. These are not merely insults. They are psychological strategies designed to keep the partner in a subordinate position. The narcissist knows that control is maintained not just through overt dominance, but through undermining the partner's sense of agency. But here's where the real educational insight emerges. Staying with a narcissist is not just about them. It's about you. It reflects your relationship with discomfort, with uncertainty, and with truth. It reveals the degree to which you are willing to bend your perception of reality in order to maintain emotional comfort. You may find yourself justifying their behavior, minimizing your pain, or convincing yourself that things will change. All of these are ways of avoiding a more difficult confrontation with your own responsibility. Responsibility is a central concept here. It means facing what is real even when it is painful. It means recognizing that staying in a destructive relationship is not passive. It is an active decision with consequences. And more importantly, it means acknowledging that you are not powerless. You may not control the narcissist, but you do control how you respond to their behavior. You do control whether you continue to participate in a dynamic that is diminishing your well-being. True freedom is not found in avoiding pain or conflict. It is found in courageously confronting it. And that means being willing to walk away from people who use manipulation as a substitute for love. It means tolerating the uncertainty of independence long enough to build a life grounded in reality rather than illusion. It means choosing truth over comfort, even when that truth forces you to reevaluate everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and self, self-worth. Ultimately, the decision to leave a narcissist is a decision to reclaim your moral and psychological sovereignty. It is an act of profound responsibility, not just to yourself, but to the truth. Because if you continue to allow someone to shape your reality through distortion and control, you are participating in your own diminishment. To break free is to reestablish the rightful order of your life, one where your dignity, perception, and value are not contingent on someone else's pathology. And that begins with the courage to stop running from chaos and instead confront it, clear-eyed, resolute, and ready to build something real. Liberation from a narcissistic relationship does not begin with physical separation. It begins in the mind, with the development of an unflinching commitment to truth and personal responsibility. Far too often, people believe that leaving the narcissist is the hardest step, but in reality, the most difficult part is seeing clearly. Narcissistic dynamics are maintained through layers of deception, manipulation, and confusion. To free yourself, you must first learn how to perceive accurately, without the distortions imposed by fear, guilt, or hope for change. Perception is not a passive act. It is an active process that requires the courage to question your assumptions and re-examine your experiences through an honest lens. Many people in toxic relationships learn to second, guess themselves, to doubt their feelings, and to reinterpret harm as love. This does not happen by accident. Narcissists are skilled at shaping the emotional atmosphere in such a way that the victim gradually internalizes a false narrative. Over time, the victim may believe that they are the problem, that they are too needy, too emotional, or too flawed to be loved in a healthy way. This internalized self-doubt becomes the prison that holds them in place. To break free, the first step is to stop rationalizing and start observing. This means paying attention to behavior, not just words. Narcissists will often make promises, show moments of tenderness, and offer occasional apologies. But these moments are not signs of growth. They are usually tactics to reset the dynamic when they sense they are losing control. The question is not, do they say they care, but do their actions consistently reflect care, respect, and emotional integrity? Once you begin to evaluate the relationship on those terms, a clearer picture emerges. That clarity brings pain. There is no way around it. It hurts to realize that someone you loved, trusted, or invested in was never interested in a genuine partnership. It hurts to accept that the person you tried to help, fix, or save is not willing, or in some cases not able, to meet you in a space of mutual respect. But this pain is necessary. It is a sign that you are beginning to let go of illusion. Pain in this context is not your enemy. It is the teacher that shows you what is real. From this place of clarity, the next step is responsibility. Responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for the abuse or taking on the guilt of the narcissist. It means owning your response to the truth once it is seen. It means recognizing that no one else can do the inner work for you. No one can give you permission to leave. No one can guarantee you will not feel lonely or afraid or lost in the aftermath. But responsibility means you choose to act anyway, not because it is easy, but because it is right. This is where transformation begins. The decision to leave, to cut ties, to rebuild, is not just about ending a relationship. It is about reordering your life around values that support your growth rather than sabotage it. It is about aligning your actions with your dignity. In the aftermath, there will be moments of doubt, moments of grief, and moments when the old patterns call you back. But this is part of the process. You are learning to trust your own mind again, to honor your own emotions, to live in truth rather than fantasy. True freedom is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of meaning, clarity, and self-respect. It comes from knowing that you are no longer subject to the psychological games of someone who thrived on your confusion. It comes from recognizing that while you may have been manipulated, you are no longer willing to participate in your own oppression. You are willing to face whatever comes next, not because you are fearless, but because you are committed to living honestly. In this way, liberation is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing process of choosing truth over comfort, clarity over denial, and responsibility over victimhood. Every time you set a boundary, speak the truth, or act in alignment with your values, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. And with each step, you become stronger, not in a loud or dramatic way, but in a deep, steady, and quietly powerful way. That is what real recovery looks like. It is the rebuilding of a life no longer dictated by deception, but defined by the deliberate pursuit of what is real, meaningful, and true.